After what I would classify as maybe the wildest week in my nearly 20 years covering this LSU football program, finally we get back to talking about football, which I think would be a welcome reprieve for everyone. And yes, the future of the program, hiring a new head coach, hiring a new athletic director, all of that is paramount and things that we're going to talk about plenty in the coming days, weeks, and months. But LSU is going to play Alabama on Saturday. Tigers will face fourth-ranked, 7-1 Alabama, which has not looked like a dominant football team this year, but they have found ways to win. This is an Alabama team that got a big lead against Georgia, then was shut out in the second half against the Bulldogs and held on. This was a team that had to hold on in a one last drive ditch effort from Missouri on the road when Missouri had a chance to go win the football game. This was an Alabama team that needed a couple of Diego Pavia turnovers in the red zone to beat Vanderbilt. An Alabama football team that was down 8 on its home field to a bad South Carolina team in the final minutes of that football game, and then Lenora Sellers quite literally fumbled away the game. All that to say, you credit Alabama tremendously for their resolve, their ability to find ways to win football games, but they certainly have not been a dominant football team. And I think that is maybe the biggest difference across the landscape of college football. Save Ohio State and Indiana, we really haven't seen dominant teams across the football landscape this year, which makes it feel pretty wide open, as evidenced week in and week out across the landscape of college football. So Frank Wilson at the helm of the LSU program now, steering the ship for the final 4 games. And on Monday, Coach Frank met with reporters and said, look, despite all the tumult of the last week, spirits are high there in football ops.
Really pleased with the morale of our football team is extremely high right now as we wrapped up what was a bye week. Our team really came together. I thought it was a time of reflection for our football team to look at the things that we had not done well and to correct those things. I think we did that. To build our team with depth and youthfulness, I thought we did that.
Now, I am of the opinion that when you are 8 games into a season, you are what you are. You can't categorically change who you are 8 games in. Your strengths are your strengths. Your weaknesses are your weaknesses. And maybe in a given week, there can be tweaks to a plan to accentuate some of the things you do well and change focus. For example, we've talked plenty about LSU running the football. Last week, when Coach Frank met with reporters, he noted and said definitively, we are going to run the football. That was his quote. We are going to run the football. Well, the head coach is the running backs coach. And the man calling plays now, Alex Atkins, while he's the tight ends coach, he is by trade an offensive lineman. So I don't doubt at all that LSU is going to run the ball more. Just for context, LSU is 124th in the country in rushing attempts. Now, when you look at rushing offense, LSU is 124th at 106.3 yards per game. But we're talking about just how many times you turn around, hand the football off, and try to run it. They're near the bottom of the country in college football in rushing attempts. So you can't run it if you don't even try to run it. And I am of the belief that this team can be better running the football if they make an effort to do that, which they weren't doing prior, which I absolutely believe they will do. Now, this whole thing gets complicated a little bit this week in particular because it sure sounds like you are going to be shorthanded on the offensive line. Remember, Tyree Adams, your starting left tackle, was injured in the game against Vanderbilt after about 15 snaps. DJ Chester replaced him, played the balance of that football game. Chester had the tightrope procedure. Brian Kelly disclosed that before the Texas A&M game. And so the thought was that you would not have DJ Chester for likely 4 to 6 weeks as it moves throughout the remainder of the season. Carius Curne replaced Adams. Carius Curne replaced Adams against Texas A&M, and late in that football game, Curne suffered a knee injury. By the way, Coach Frank, I asked him today, he would not confirm a knee injury, but that's what has been reported. And so I asked Frank on Monday for an update there at left tackle with Tyree Adams out and the update on Carius Curne.
Tyree Adams is out. Carius Curne is questionable. He was here yesterday for the scouting report in the walkthrough of Alabama. He participated in it. We're hopeful. We're taking it day by day, but right now his status will be questionable.
So if you don't have Adams and you don't have Curne, then what actually is the option there at left tackle against Alabama? Here's Frank.
We're working on exactly how that would look, whether that would be DJ Chester, whether that would be flopping Weston over. We have a couple of scenarios that we're looking at right now. Probably the most immediate thing would be is to put DJ Chester in at left tackle and do the things we need to do to allow him to play his very best.
Now, I don't hate that option, and in particular this week, but just to go through what the options would be at left tackle. Look, DJ Chester, remember when Tyree Adams went down against Clemson, Chester went in for 4 snaps at left tackle. He played almost the entire game at center against Louisiana Tech when Braylon Moore was injured on the first snap. He played in the second half 18 snaps at center against Southeastern when the backups rotated in, and then, of course, played left tackle against Vanderbilt when Tyree Adams went down, and then played left tackle for 13 snaps against Texas A&M when Carius Curne went down. So Chester has played 3 games at left tackle for, let's see, I'm sort of 38, 42, 52, 55 snaps. He's played 55 snaps at left tackle across 3 different games, and of course started 13 games a year ago at center. Now, my contention is DJ Chester is a guard. But in this situation, you have a guy that has started a bunch. He started on the road in the SEC. I don't think he'll be intimidated by the crowd. It just, does the skill set match what you're going to need in this game? The thing I will tell you, if you're looking for a reason for optimism, I'm not here to sunshine pump and tell you only all great things. But if you're looking for a reason for optimism this week, if you were to look, and objectively, LSU's weakness is on the offensive line. It's the weakest position group on the team. Nobody would argue to the contrary. But Alabama, which was built for so many years under Nick Saban at the line of scrimmage, was so dominant at the line of scrimmage, with this big, space-eating defensive lineman. I mean, we think back to 2015 and when, Fournette, basically his name was already, inscribed on the Heisman Trophy, went to Tuscaloosa, and they just couldn't move against Jerron Reed and Ashawn Robinson and those guys. This Alabama team, while they are statistically good defensively, they're 24th in total defense, 20th in scoring defense. Alabama is 72nd in the country against the run. Teams average 149 rush yards a game against Alabama. And when you look at pressures, they're even worse. They're 83rd in sacks. Through 8 games, Alabama's got a total of 15 sacks. So they're averaging 1.88 sacks per game. All that to say, yes, your offensive line has been by a mile your greatest weakness this year, but Alabama's defensive front hasn't been awesome. Like, it was a much greater concern not having Tyree Adams against Texas A&M, which came into Tiger Stadium top 10 in both sacks and TFLs. So, you're sitting there, preparing against one of the best pass rushes in the country with an offensive line that hasn't been very good and without your left tackle. Well, 7 sacks, 11 TFLs later, that's kind of how you expected it might look. This feels different because Alabama doesn't generally get home with their pass rush, and their run defense has been susceptible. This feels like a game where LSU is going to line up and run the football. And yes, I think DJ Chester is serviceable at left tackle in the running game. Chester is a 6'7", 320-pound, gigantic human who, if you tell him put your hand on the ground and run through the guy in front of you, he can do that. When you have him put his hand on the ball and snap it and make calls and checks, or move into left tackle where he has to kick slide and get in space against elite edge rushers that are super fast off the edge, I don't love DJ Chester doing that. He is a guard, and I think he could be a very good guard if he ever gets the opportunity to play his natural position. But in this situation, I think the emphasis is going to be for DJ Chester to get out there to do his dead level best and hopefully see an LSU offense that focuses on the running game, which would be certainly a contrast to what we've seen up until this point in the season. As the week moves along and we get updates on health there along the offensive line, we'll certainly share them with you. But LSU getting set now, get back on the field Saturday in Tuscaloosa, and little up in the air who will be playing left tackle for the Tigers.
Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.